Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is 17 after 9 o'clock, and we are now going to be talking with Executive Director of Africa for Palestine, and that is Muhammed Desai, to remember the late Yasmin Jessie Duarte. Inna Allahi wa inna Allahi rajiun. Assalamu alaikum to you, Muhammad. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam. Shukran so much for having us today.
Lovely to have you, and long time no speak. Nice to have you back on air again. Obviously, as the majority of South Africans, we were all quite saddened to hear about the passing of Sister Yasmin Jessie Duarte. Um, Talk to us about how you knew her, how she impacted on you, how she shaped your thinking, Alhamdulillah, and what this means to us as South Africans, the passing of this amazing woman. From what I know, she and her entire family were activists from a very, very young age. So, what more do you know about this amazing woman and family?
Thanks so much, Auntie Julia, and thanks so much for Salam Media for taking the time to pay homage to somebody like Comrade Yasmin Jessie Duarte. Comrade Jessie, I think in many ways her spirit was present yesterday amongst those mourners reading Janaza Salah. In those safs, you could see the work that Comrade Jessie had put into this country, the non-racialism, the non-racialism that she really poured her heart into trying to build, both within the African National Congress, but also within South Africa, was present on in the safs yesterday at the Janaza Salah. And I think that we as South Africans should be proud of certain gains and certain achievements that have been made, and in no small part due to the involvement of people such as Comrade Jessie. Having the President of the Republic of South Africa being amongst mourners performing the Janaza Salah is something that we should be taking encouragement from. The fact that the President of the Republic of South Africa can so boldly claim a verse from the Quran as part of his eulogy yesterday in remembering Comrade Jessie really is an indication of how far South Africa has taken the issue of inclusivity. And I think that this was one of the issues that Comrade Jessie was always promoting. We, of course, know her from the Palestine Solidarity movement. And Comrade Jessie for us was beyond just the rallies or protests that she attended or that she addressed. And she was, and that she addressed very, how could we put it, very explosively. She was indeed very fiery. She was a sharpshooter. She took no nonsense. She held those that needed to be held accountable. I really think that she sent shivers down the spines of those that were oppressing others. I think that the Israeli regime didn't only have a thorn in her, but they also had explosive dynamite, and they knew that she had the ability, the courage, and the capacity to take them on. And I think that is why, unfortunately, the Israeli lobby in this country very viciously and very cruelly tried to attack her, tried to get her removed from her position as one of the most one of the highest decision-making bodies of the African National Congress. But ultimately, they failed, and I think that the Israeli lobby failed precisely because of the resilience that we found in Comrade Jessie.
How much of interaction did you have with her over the years?
So the first interactions were intimidating. We were told many scary things about Comrade Jessie. Before we walked into our office, there was trepidation and anxiety. But I think that the moment that you walk past that door and you're in her presence, everything changed. You were in the company of somebody that was warm, generous, humorous, and somebody who was loyal to her principles that she adopted with you. And so when you set out to run a campaign against Israeli apartheid, she was with you every step of the way. Comrade Jessie is somebody that we had consulted in private as board members and as a small group within the organization. But of course, she also supported us in public spaces. I recall also once organizing an event where we're expecting over 100 people somewhere in Limpopo. We won't mention the names of those that were assisting us with this. And Comrade Jesse arrives, and there are about 10 or 12 people. And I very sheepishly and very embarrassingly tried to approach her to explain, Comrade Jesse, there's only 12 people that have arrived. And she looked with no anger in her face and she said, so let us begin. We need to educate all that are available, whether it's 120 or whether it's 12, whether I am the Deputy Secretary General or not. We are here to do Palestinian solidarity work. And I think that Comrade Jesse was also in our interactions, the massive gains that have been made in this country, for example, the downgrade of the South African embassy in Tel Aviv, was because of her active involvement. But I think what Comrade Jesse also did is that she was always somebody who empowered others, especially younger activists. So whilst she had your back and while she promoted the causes that you were promoting, she also showed you the reins. She also wanted you to do the work yourself. And so, whilst she may have left us, I think her spirit will not only live on in the work that we do, but she has also skilled us in the work that we do.
Alhamdulillah for that. Sadly, we've also been receiving messages on, there's been tweets and there's been messages on social media networks, different platforms by her detractors, some of it very uncomplimentary. How would you respond to something like that? I'm
I
not
think
sure if you've seen any of that. And also, another comrade of hers has suggested that she's taken a lot of secrets with her to the grave. And one can read lots between those lines. That one sentence that he has articulated allows the general public to read a lot between the lines and not necessarily, positive comments or positive readings. How does one view all of that, or how should one view all of that?
I think that I think that all issues should be weighed up. I don't think that any one issue trumps others. All that we as Africa for Palestine can say is that our interactions with her were one within a context of international solidarity more generally. And in that field, she showed both a combination of, on the one hand, a very in-depth knowledge about the intricate details of Israel's apartheid regime, of the US's embargo against Cuba, the plight of the people of Western Sahara, very detailed information combined with a wonderful reservoir of love for the oppressed Palestinian child, for the oppressed Western Sahrawi refugee. And at the same time, she also had another element to her, and that is a backbone. She stood up straight and she defended her positions. And so I can only speak within the context of Israel, of Palestinian solidarity, when she was attacked by the Jewish Board of Deputies and by the South African Zionist Federation. We really felt that those attacks were unfair, that they were unjust, and that the accusations that were leveled against her were accusations of anti-Semitism and of hatred of the Jewish people. And she explained that she has nothing, that her issue is not with, she would continuously insist that her issue was not with Judaism. She would always try to insist and unpack the issue of anti-Semitism, but it fell on deaf ears. And those detractors within the Israeli lobby decided to label her forever as an anti-Semite. We received many emails after issuing our press statement from lobbyists from within the Israeli sector attacking the fact that we were celebrating her contribution to Palestinian solidarity. But really, within this context, we feel very confidently that her position of dismissing the and not being deterred by the accusations that were thrown against her regarding her support of international solidarity struggles was the correct approach, and until today we stand by her on this.
Undoubtedly, her passing has left a big void in lots of people's lives, in the ANC, undoubtedly with Africa for Palestine, for the struggle of the Palestinian people. Do you see anyone else stepping up in, in that position? I'm talking high-profile political figures stepping up and supporting the Palestinian issue as she did, absolutely and wholeheartedly.
Wow, that's a difficult one. I think on the one hand, the one positive was that Comrade Jessie wasn't an island to herself. She always ensured that her positions were in line with her party, the African National Congress. For example, I think that the fact that the ANC has within its resolutions that Israel's embassy should be downgraded, that Israel is an apartheid state, that that the ANC's position is that the Palestinians are the oppressed in this situation. I think that the fact that this has all been institutionalized within the ANC is a gives us some sort of safety that it was never about one individual. But I think at the same time we are going to miss the no nonsense fiery person who didn't allow bureaucracy to get in the way of the Palestinian issue or of any other struggle that she championed. So it is a sad day, but I think that she has also laid the groundwork for us to continue, and continue we will.
What a legacy, Alhamdulillah. Let's just digress here slightly. Earlier on today, I spoke with Sahar Francis. She's the lawyer and director of Adamir. You obviously do know her or know of the organization, calling on the release of Ahmed Manasra. He was imprisoned as a child. She also indicated to me that there are over 160 child prisoners by the occupiers in Palestine. Your thoughts on this matter? Do you hold up any hope? And how are you, as Africa for Palestine, pushing on for the emancipation of the Palestinian people and very especially child prisoners?
Sarah Francis was in South Africa a few years ago with the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, and I do recall Salam Media as well covering it. And we must thank media as Salam Media that consistently cover the issue of the Palestinian struggle in its various sectors and areas. And for example, highlighting the very, very tragic and painful plight of Palestinian child prisoners. Palestinian child prisoners, I really sometimes think that the word child does a disservice, because sometimes we have toddlers really that are arrested and detained by by the Israeli regime.
Sure.
People, I mean, kids as young as 12, as young as 10 that are being detained. We had a board member who was recently in Palestine on a work trip, and he firsthand witnessed the detainment of a 10-year-old Palestinian. Many of us can think of our own grandkids or nieces or nephews, and even just for a second to imagine that they are being detained for an hour, 2 hours, 2 weeks, 2 months. This is a kind of pain and suffering that not only the Palestinians.
Okay, we seem to have lost Muhammed Desai there. Are you still there? We seem to have lost him. Let's leave it there. Inshallah, we are going to be playing out with a tribute to the late Yasmin Jessie Duarte.